Greetings, this is Jeff, K4AVK, coming to you from Virginia Beach, Virginia. It is December 2020. 2020, as everybody knows, has been an interesting year for all of us. Hopefully we'll get past everything that's been going on. It is a cold December rainy afternoon. I can't think of anything better to do but hang around in the ham shack. Been a ham radio operator for just a couple of years. Kind of put it off earlier in life, although I wanted to do it, just never did. Finally got around to it, so I've been trying to make up for lost ground ever since. So today, I figured I would give you a tour of my ham shack. I'm still building it. It is a home office. I still work. So it's between home office for my day job, plus keeping up with everything, and then the ham shack. At some point, I'll look forward to retirement, and it can probably be mostly a ham shack. So those days are coming. Anyway, I figured I would give you a tour of what I've got going on so far in the past couple of years I've been doing this. So let's get started. All right. Okay, moving into the ham shack. I'll give you just a quick pan around the room, and then we'll go through some of the various devices. Again, this is kind of where the radio part stops and we get into the home office stuff. Okay, starting on this side, I have an Astron RS35M power supply, and it provides power to the HF radios, the tuners, the antenna switch, and some of the various equipment there. It actually ties in to an NFJ DC distribution center. And it's a metered, fuse protected, does a good job, allows me to connect all my stuff in a pretty clean fashion. You'll see over here is my little FT65R handheld that I use around town. So I got that sitting there. Well, below the power supply is my Ameritron ALS 500M. It's a 500 watt linear amp, multiband, and it is a mobile amp. It does a good job for me, and it's not, I don't have the power of some of the larger stations, but so far I'm very happy with it, and usually, given the band conditions, I can make the contacts I need to make. That requires a separate larger DC power supply. So moving down, you can see my Ameritron 75 amp switching power supply that feeds just the linear amplifier. Now the amp is controlled separately, and I'll show you over at the radio console how it's controlled. Okay, moving around over here, you can see that I am an ICOM fan. On this side, we have our 7300, and that is the first HF rig that I bought. It runs mostly FT8 now. I have it hooked up, and when I run FT8, that's the radio that I use. Beside that is my 7610. I love both of these radios. 7610, of course, has the much larger display. That is the primary radio that I use for HF voice phone contacts. And again, both of these radios do a really good job for me. So, moving on up, let's get the microphone out of the way. I have a 20 meter 3-element monoband Yagi, and it's sitting on a 40-foot tower, and that's my controller for my rotor. Okay, over to the left of that, this is the amp controller. This is an Ameritron ARI 500. The radio interfaces directly to this box. This box interfaces to the amp, and basically it will do all the band switching automatically, and when I'm ready to operate, I just flip that on and the amp is ready to go. Pretty cool setup. Beside that is one of the newest additions, which is a it's a desktop remote antenna transceiver switch. It allows me to connect up to 6 radios and 6 antennas, and I can interact any radio with any antenna. Right now, 2 radios. You can see I've got 7610-1, 7300, 7610-2. The 7610 has a second output, and I use that sometimes locally and run it through that second output. And above that, I've got 3 antennas connected right now with the beam, a 40 to 10 end fed and an 80 to 10 end fed. And again, I can match any antenna to any radio. Moving up, I have the MFJ 994 600 watt automatic tuner, and I use that in combination with the amp and the 7610. That's where I run the amp, and I use that for tuning that radio, that amp, to the various antennas. Above that, I have a AT600 Pro 2 auto tuner, and that's connected to the 7300 when I'm doing FT8. That does the tuning, regardless of which antenna I'm connected to. Moving over here is an MFJ Versa Tuner 2. That's a manual tuner. It's not being used right now. It's on the shelf, and I've got it if I need it. Alright, moving up above that, I have a 24-inch display that's connected to my iMac as a second display. It basically displays the map function of my logging software, which is MacLogger DX, a program that I love. And basically when I plug in a contact, it will actually give me distance and bearing to wherever the other station is. It's pretty cool. Okay, backing out a little bit. This is my mic boom that I use with the 7610 or the 7300 if I want. I basically can position that anywhere I want. I've got a handy mic. Let me pull the cover off. A handy mic IC. That great little mic. Love the sound of it. Use it with the 7610 or whatever radio I'm using, but it's electric element for ICOM radios specifically. Actually has a push to talk button on it. Put the windscreen back on it, and I have a push to talk button down here that I can also use. And over here I have a second one that actually goes, same mic, pull the windscreen off, there you go, same mic, connected to my other ICOM, which is the ID 5100, which is a dual band with D-Star. So I do use D-Star on occasion, but great radio, and this mic does a great job with that too. They're both the same mic. Alright, moving up here, let me move the light out of the way. I have an iPad, and I've got running an app called Zulu Time, which allows me to put universal time in there, local time, and various time zones. Just places I picked: Pacific time, Middle Europe, Russia, even Australia and Japan. So those are just ones I plugged in there for kind of various locations throughout the world. And beyond that is my Accurite weather station. I've got a remote sensor outside, gives me wind speed, rain. You can see we've had quite a bit of rain this year, about almost 53 inches, and it's raining as we speak. So that's a handy device, gives me lightning detection, which is certainly handy in the summer if we need to start unplugging antennas. Okay, moving over to the right is a second monitor. So this actually serves two purposes. It actually will show, it'll take the output of the 7610 and give me that in a larger display. If I'm doing nothing but HF work or voice work, then I'll use that and can kind of watch what's going on across the band. Or if I'm running, let me get over here to the input. If I decide I want to run FT8, I can actually just change the inputs. It'll come here in a minute or so, hopefully less than a minute. And we should get, there you go. So there's where I run the, I get the FT8 display at. What feeds that is down here below the iMac is a actual Apple MacBook Pro. And I basically use that to run the FT8 software and various things I want to use that I'm not running on the other PCs. Beyond that, or above that, got to have my hand call sign, my lighted call sign, K4AVK, and it's got my name on it. Pretty cool. And my audio is actually coming through these PreSonus studio monitors. I was in music for a long time, and they do a good job there, and I think they do a pretty good job for when you're using and routing radio audio through it. Okay, over here to the right. This is another display that I've got. Right now I've got a program called DX Heat on it. And, you know, running a cluster. I also have my logbook of the world QRZ page if I want to look up stations. It's handy there, and I use this keyboard down here, as you can see. Behind that is a little Behringer audio mixer, and that's where I bring all the audio through for the various radios and feed them to the two monitors that I showed you up there. Basically running 3 PCs in the shack, kind of overkill, but I do that partly because I'm running, you know, the iMac is running 2 displays, and I just separate the software, and I definitely operate and don't have any conflicts, which works out okay for me. I believe, let's see, I think over here to the right, got a couple other odds and ends. That's my 30 amp switching power supply for the 2 meter radio for the ICOM. Below that is a little scanner from Radio Shack. I use it for just listening to some stuff locally. And if you swing the monitor out, there's my 2 meter radio set back there. Got a zoom spot over there, and that's what I use for accessing D-Star. I'm not near or close enough to a repeater, and that comes in handy there. So I think you have it. That's pretty much what I have so far. Again, I'm building after just a couple of years, but I'm pretty proud of the station setup, and you know, I'm always looking for a gadget or two that will help me in that effort. Okay, thanks everybody for stopping by, and hope everybody has a great holiday season, and you know, we're going to be into 2021, and I hope that's a great year for everybody. With that, this is Jeff, K4AVK, and I'll say 73s to everybody. Take care and catch you on the bands.